News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Well, good morning and welcome to Newsline. This morning, Newsline is on location in Kotmale, where we have done a recording at the Fox Resorts property, Mass Villas in Kotmale. Kotmale is actually a treasure waiting to be discovered, and the nice people at Fox Resorts will help anyone discover that treasure. But this morning we have got a very special guest who's here to discuss the leisure industry in this country, and we're joined by Mr. Chris Quine, who is, shall we say, a person with an immense experience record in the hospitality industry. Very good morning to you, Chris.
Good morning, Franz.
And Chris, you have a wonderful property here in Kotmale, which has been featured in another program, and people have been able to see that. But I thought I'd ask you, with this explosion of interest, worldwide interest in our country, following the end of the war and so on, we're sort of 8 years into that situation. Plenty of Sri Lanka has become known as Opportunity Sri Lanka, so on. And one of the areas we see growing is obviously the hospitality industry.
Yes.
What are the challenges you all are facing? Do you have enough staff and so on?
For us, Sri Lanka faced many challenges over the past 2 decades, or even more, when it came to the tourism industry. Because first we were faced with the war, and both the private sector and the government had to fight through that in order for us to, even though the war was on, go through a tourism industry where we actually managed to proceed. We got out of that even during a period of war. And having faced the most difficult and the darkest hour, now we can face many challenges, and we have learned to, the private sector especially has learned to come out of all these challenges over and over again. And the tourism industry faces many challenges on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
Say if there is a flood somewhere in Sri Lanka, it will affect us. If there's a drought, it can affect the tourism industry. If there is an airline issue somewhere down the line, then that also affects us. So we are faced with many challenges. But as an industry, we have overcome that, and we still tend to overcome these challenges there. However, I don't think the government or the tourism industry has a proper marketing plan to execute for this country's tourism industry. I don't think that is 100% in place, and I think it's up to the tourism authority to have a strategic marketing plan. They should have an international marketing agency to market, execute this. That is one issue which I see in the industry.
And we see all over the country new hotels coming up, service departments, and we see, the tourism industry in the full gamut of the industry, like tours and cars, vans, coaches, ferrying tourists here, there, and everywhere. Niche tourist markets like, let's say activity holidays or, special things like where you can learn to cook and all sorts of holidays out here. And billions of rupees is being invested in infrastructure. But how much of those billions, what percentage is being allocated to finding the staff and training the staff?
See, that's a very, very interesting question, because a recent survey done by the Tourism Board showed that 49% of the arrivals are classified under informal sector.
Right.
Now, an informal sector is people who come and stay in operations not registered with the Tourist Board. So exactly what you said, it's small houses somewhere, small motels, B&B. So 49% is a lot. So that deprives the tourism industry of getting in some cash, which they should be getting. And that is a bit of a concern for the whole industry now. Because if you see, these places have come like mushrooms, they've just sprouted up from all over the place. No matter where you go, either it's in the city or out of the city, in the culture, anywhere. You have these small homestays. That's been a bit of an issue, because they are not registered with the Tourist Board. So when you are not registered with the Tourist Board, you also can have issues where they don't have certain standards. And if by chance a tourist comes and has bad experiences, it is against, they look at it as Sri Lanka. They don't say that particular hotel was bad. We went to Sri Lanka and we faced these issues. So it's a concern that should be looked into.
And how does one begin to address this issue? We can't, during the war years, hotels could justifiably claim that it was very difficult to retain staff on a permanent basis, because in any case our tourism industry is rather seasonal, and certainly the arrivals are seasonal, and so on. So there was a case then, but now it's different. All those barriers have been taken away.
Right.
So how is it that how do they intend addressing the issue about trained staff, at least about speaking the language?
See, the trained staff is a whole issue by itself.
Right.
Because if you look at the city and the future hotels that are going to come up, which are almost completed, the international chains like the Hyatts and the Shangri-Las and the Montpics and the Sheratons, and the hotels that are locally have now made a name, like the Cinnamons and the Queens and all these people. If you look at them, for the next maybe 2-3 years, there's going to be at least 5,000 jobs available. But we don't have the infrastructure to say that these 5,000 people are ready to take the job. Now somebody can turn around and say, we will get people from overseas. But if you get people from overseas to run these hotels and in the mass areas, like in the waiters and the cooks and all, then your costs are going to go up. So how are we going to retain trained staff? Are we going to get them from the Middle East? Are we going to get them from outside? Are we going to train them internally? And if you train them internally, what is going to keep them? Because if they are with one international chain, it's very easy for another international chain to pick them up for a slightly higher amount. Because if you look at the lower grades, the salaries ain't that great.
But my favorite, when I travel about and I have nice chats with staff, it appears to me that owners earn in dollars and pay out in rupees, and the paying out in rupees is rather a challenge, because the staff may find working in the region or maybe even in the Middle East a better option for them in terms of actual money. So are there moves to increase the remuneration levels, or the potential at least, or are we, many owners, are they just maybe happily, perhaps unaware, without a plan, just carrying on, hoping for the best? What's going on?
I think over the past 5 years,
Yeah.
There has been an increase in wages
Right.
in all levels in the hotel industry
Right.
in the past 5 years. If you look at during the time of the war, it's not everybody who wanted to join the hotel industry because, for example, the IT sector gave you a better package, or any other industry. They looked at it as a better field rather than the hospitality, because hospitality was suffering a lot. But come war over, and now we feel that over the last 5 years people have paid better packages. You spoke of getting it in US dollars and then paying back in rupees and all. I see a lot of hotel investors, a lot of big companies have invested billions into their properties, and to put up even a small 10-room hotel, it's fairly costly, and your return on investment is maybe 10 years sometimes. So they have, yes, they will charge you in dollars, and that goes towards your return, and pay back to your guest will have to be on the services that you provide. Then your salaries that you take, which is quite a big component, is something that is now on the increase, and it is on the rise. And I think people have discussed it, they have spoken about it, the private sectors got together and realized that, to keep staff, and even if they don't do it, somebody is going to pick them up.
So you're saying that the remuneration levels now are on the way up, better?
They are better, and certainly not the best, but they are better. But I feel that with the hotel industry now where it is and where it's going in the next couple of years, it will be good. So a person who goes to Middle East and earns, we'll say, 70,000 or 80,000, might be able to get 90% of that here. I'm talking of a steward, maybe, with his tips and things like that. He might be able to get almost that here. So he'll think, I'd rather work here rather than go and sacrifice in the Middle East. So that is quietly coming up.
And what is the is investment in the hospitality industry for a investment point of view, is it still a viable option here?
It is a viable option for us, but people need to study the location. And when you study the location, you study what sort of a hotel you want to build there. Based on that location, you build your hotel. So it's no point looking at a place and saying, I'm going to build a 5-star here, if your clientele is going to pay $50. Then you build a 5-star, you have a massive amount of inventory, and you can't make money over the next 5 years or 10 years, and then you want to sell it. And it has happened. So people have to study what that location is, who comes to that location.
And we find, Chris, that there are lots of instances where there's been a lot of hype and there's very little success thereafter. For example, like in Pasikuda or Kalpitian. Now, both these places were heavily promoted and touted as the place for opportunity in investment in the leisure industry. But we find that perhaps bar one, the hotels in Pasikuda are not doing well. What's the problem?
Pasikuda, when the war was over, Pasikuda was being promoted as a beautiful beach destination. And the beaches in Pasikuda are absolutely gorgeous. They're beautiful. And there was one hotel operator that went in there and made a beautiful hotel. And actually they created the location Pasikuda by this hotel. Then everybody went and thought, wow, this is a great place, and they went and built hotels. Now, sometimes when you do that, you have to realize that what sort of clientele is going to come over here. And if you look at Pasikuda, it's a distance away. So people went there, they saw, wow, it's a nice place, but you don't actually get people going there over and over again like people will go to Hikkadu or Benpata or Beru.
Yes, places like that. Closer to Colombo.
Closer, and the beach is the beach at the end of it. So they would rather lie on the beach here in Hikadu, which is a lovely spot, rather than drive a really distance away to go to Pasipura. If you look at Kalpiti, Kalpiti is a kite destination. Try and see who is your clientele once again. And then, you pitch it to those people over there. So that's something that sometimes is a mismatch. And the results are, when you look at people trying to sell it, you look at them and ask, why are you trying to sell such a beautiful property in this location?
Yeah.
And then the answer is there, I guess.
I see. And what can I know we mustn't keep asking what can the government do, but in terms of training and the numbers of staff expected, we have a number of properties that are going to be opening up soon, and clearly we'll need staff. And where are all these people getting training?
We have a hotel school in Colombo, obviously, which is not large enough to take the new rebels that will come. But they should look at it and say, the hotels are being opened, the inventory is going to expand. Nobody can take that away because the building's up. So therefore we have to train people. We have to give them some incentive to join the industry. Show people who have made it to the top on this and have a proper scheme. Start even from a level of schools. I know certain private schools or government schools have started a hospitality course. Make that as part and parcel of some subject that you can choose once you finish your O-levels. Show them the benefits of it. And I'm sure we can get more people into that, expand the hotel school, have another, encourage people to come from overseas and have hotel schools over here.
How does this, I know we'll get into trouble with this question, I suppose. But
I wouldn't want to get into trouble, but they can pose the question anyway.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is, there is this perception that our society is sort of rather elitist, and the hospitality industry is all about being nice, and there's no room for being elitist and say, well, I'm from this type of caste, and it's beneath me to serve somebody. I think you need to be prepared that if you're doing this, that the maid who worked in your house for once upon a time may now be economically far better empowered, and therefore you may one day be serving this person who was once your maid. That sort of thing.
Well, that will be there. That has been there for generations and years down the line, and it can be there. But I think that people should not look at it like that. Serving somebody is nothing. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, but because I noticed this in some hotels. You'll find you finished, and you'll find the captain flying here and flying there, but the captain ain't taking your plate away or your cup or your whatever, and you tell them, and then they'll get somebody else to come in and say, well, take that off. Whereas in other countries, in Thailand, for example, I haven't noticed that. They finish. Whoever's flying past will clear it. They are small matters, but I think overall these small matters add to better service.
It should start right from the top. And if the manager sees something like that, he should pick up the plate himself. And when he creates the impression and he gives the example of, I'm in the industry, I have to clear a plate, and there's nothing wrong in clearing a plate. Absolutely nothing wrong. He just says, this is our service. I'm in the hospitality industry. If I can't work in the hospitality industry and take somebody else's plate, I should go and work in some other industry. So you're right, there are people in black jackets. Once you put the black jacket on, they think, it's beneath me to take this plate out, I have to call somebody. That's the first thing that guy should be out. He should be taking the plate, and then the manager or the waiter should come back and say, no, let me take the plate. Because you lead by example in the hospitality industry, and people have paid a lot of money. What people don't think is, you fly around the world, you fly halfway around the world to come to a country like Sri Lanka, you pay a lot of money. Sri Lanka is not a cheap destination anymore.
Yeah.
It may have a variety of, your upmarket and your low end of accommodation.
Yeah.
But it's not a cheap destination any longer. It's value for money,
Right.
but it's not very cheap. So when people come over here, you have to realize that they have paid a lot of money and you have to give them service. Service is a vital element. You have to give them because they expect basic service. And don't forget, now there's social media. The moment something wrong, within 5 minutes, it's around the world. People can see it. It's no longer where you go back and you write a comment and give it to the manager and he takes it up. No, manager sees it on his phone within 2 minutes.
So nowadays it's the fastest who will beat the rest.
Yeah, I think service should come from your heart for us, not from some handbook that you give to people and tell them, look, follow this, follow this, follow this. Sometimes...
But how does one inculcate that into someone?
At the start you said something about English and things like that. I believe that you don't need to be a scholar, you don't need to have your English perfect to do service.
Yeah.
If it comes from your heart,
Yeah.
where you would have experienced, there's a lot of people even watching this program would have experienced where they go to various hotels and the steward or the person who makes up the bed cannot talk much English, but he will go out of his way to please this guy. He will go out of his way to please the kid or whatever. And he may not know English, but he then, that experience will bring them back to this property over and over again. So it's service that matters and service that you feel that you want to give somebody from your heart. Otherwise, it doesn't work that way.
And what can the government do in terms of schools and so on?
I think one is a clear marketing plan.
Right.
They need to have a clear marketing plan on what they're going to do over the next 5 years with the industry and with the hotels. How are they going to sort out this issue of hostels and small hotels and things shooting up from all over the place? What is the service there? How can we give them a basic service? Because it's a country that's so they need to look at that. Then you look at the scene of a hotel school. How are they going to train these people? Because I'm sure the private sector will help them anytime, and the private sector has helped them over and over again. They work together. The private sector will work with, and the government work together. So how will they work with the government to make sure that...
Now the hotel school we have, the government run on, I think it's just one or two maybe. There's one in Colombo and one perhaps down south.
Yeah.
But that's completely inadequate in terms of the numbers.
Yeah.
But I know it's a start and we mustn't sound ungrateful, but the fact is that that's not enough.
No, that is not enough. Everybody knows. There are a few private schools that have also come up, but it's still not enough. So I think...
So is there a national standardized level of training?
No. There is no uniform level. Everybody knows what is expected of them and they try to stick to those levels.
So but surely that's a problem.
That is a problem. That's why I think the private sector and each hotel operator tries to do their own training.
Is the answer to allow hotel operators to import staff from the region, maybe from India and Bangladesh and wherever?
If they do that, I think especially on a level of trained staff, your cost will escalate. And if your cost escalates, then obviously it's going to be a mismatch. And then also you're depriving the people of Sri Lanka to be trained.
Yeah.
So I don't think that is the right answer. Sometimes they get on a manager level, they might get the manager. But I think we have to look at it within the country and sort it out. And I think we have some very, very intelligent key people who have been in this industry for thick and thin times. If we all get together, it can be done.
And are there opportunities for investors to take on the training aspect, apart from the investment opportunities in terms of ownership and operation of hotels?
There should be. I think if somebody looks closely into it and studies it, I'm sure there is a huge potential for it. And I think we might see that in the future.
And where do you see our industry, the hospitality, leisure industry, in 5 years' time?
I think the industry will boom. There is no doubt about it. I think there is a positive side to having the high-end tourism and the low-end tourism, because it happens in all countries. So that anybody can visit the country. So you may have a room for $20 and you can have a room for $1,000. So it gives a variety of people at any age group to come. As you know, the trend of the younger generation is more online, and they will book online, and they don't want too much comforts. They will have a basic, because they tour the country. So they come back only, I guess, to sleep. Yeah. But you have the other end who really wants to stay in the hotel, enjoy the facilities, have good food. So you have two aspects, and none is right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's there, and we should have both. So it's nothing wrong, but there should be a standard. The industry should look at it. There should be a standard, and the standard should be maintained.
Right. And do we, from a incentive or encouragement point of view, are there enough incentives? Do we need incentives from the government in terms of tax holidays, or is that a thing of the past?
No, there is an authority of the leisure sector continuously talking to the government on tax holidays and issues that we have where we sometimes charge too much taxes. So that is happening, and that committee looks into this, and they are working on those things.
Right. And what do you think is the greatest challenge that will face us?
I think the greatest challenge will be the people to run these hotels. That's one of the greatest challenges that we face.
And in terms of opportunities for young people, is the leisure industry, the hospitality industry, is it up there on the list of opportunities?
It is up there on the list, and I think it will be a good thing for more young people to take up hospitality as their way forward, as something that they will get into. And it is a good industry. It makes the industry, if we have young people, it will make it more vibrant, because the thinking is the same. You know, now they have a thing called friends serving friends.
Yeah.
So where, you know, young people get into the industry, and the young people who come are also, you know, they gel with these people, and it's something that we should look into. And I definitely think young people should join the industry, because that's the way forward.
Right. Chris Quine, thank you very much for being on Newsline, sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.
We obviously appreciate your time, your expertise. And our viewers will be buoyed by the fact that I haven't mentioned James Bond or anything like that. But then, you know, that's another story for another day. And we, of course, look forward to discovering the many treasures that your company now.
Maybe the next James Bond movie could be in Sri Lanka. So we'll
indeed.
Bond to Bond, you know.
Yes.
Your Bond and my Bond are different, you know.
Indeed.
My Bond is on a movie.
Right.
Okay.
And mine is over there at the central bank. Chris Coyne, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on Newsline.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and we hope that opportunity Sri Lanka and opportunity in the hospitality industry will be there, and may go from strength to strength.
Thank you.
And that's about it from Newsline, on location in Kotmale. You really want to get to Kotmale and discover the treasures that are here. And that's it. So take care, and see you same time, same place tomorrow morning. God bless.